My guest for this episode is one of Cebu's most successful entrepreneurs, Mr. Bunny Pajes. He's the chairman and CEO of Pajes Holdings and Pajes Food Group. His family operates renowned brands such as Lantau, Moon Cafe, Thirsty, Cafe Racer, Bright Academy, Playhouse, to name a few. Together, we get into a candid conversation on various insights on business, family, and life. I hope you take something from our talk. Thank you. Hello, Tito Bunny. Kumusta?
Okay, good. Well, fight.
So I'm very happy to have you on tonight. So I wanted to catch up with you. I'm very glad that we finally get this done.
Finally, I know you've been wanting this for what? A few years now?
Yeah, I've been trying to get in touch with you because, of course, I also wanted insights from you, being a renowned figure in Cebu with many of your successful businesses.
Thank you.
So firstly, I'd like to ask, how have you been doing? How's your business? What keeps you busy lately?
Pretty good. Well, we went through a very difficult and challenging patch, diba? The pandemic that started in 2020 and until now. So I can say that it was one of the most challenging periods in our life. But I think it made us and also a lot of people stronger. So that's what happened. So now we're on track and we are definitely going to grow more. And we've learned a lot of lessons along the way, which we hope we can use and share with a lot of people too.
What were some realizations during the pandemic? Because I understand restaurant businesses were badly hit.
Oh, we actually had...
How did you cope?
I know, we actually had two of the most affected industries in the world. The restaurant business, which was, 80% of our business. We operate a school, which is Bright Academy and Playhouse Children. So both had been were severely affected. So we had to cope, and what we had to do, good that we were able to just had some reserves that carried us over, and that's what we did. So we were also, by the way, during COVID, we also opened several restaurants in the middle of COVID.
So
now, yeah, it sort of put us in position now to be ahead of a lot of other people. And that's what's happening, I think, in our situation right now, Mike.
So what are some of your newer brands?
Oh, wow. We just recently opened Mr. Sizzlers, Anli Rice and Gravy. That's Charlie's baby. And we just opened, it's not a new brand, but we just opened in Compostela, which is about 5 kilometers from Liloan, Lantau, which is now really, I think, extremely welcomed by a lot of people because it's quite difficult. The stretch between Cebu City and Danao is quite long, and the traffic. So right now it's doing pretty well, and we want to thank a lot of people that have patronized it recently. And we, as I said, Mr. Sizzlers is a brand that we want to grow. We first opened in Seaside, SM Seaside, and we got a big space there, 320 square meters, and we opened in JY Square, and we're opening another outlet soon in the Ayala Access Road in the next few months. So that's one brand. We also opened a brand now. This is your Tokayo, my son Michael. It's called Pinutus ni Manong, which is to cater to the students. The prices would be about 65 pesos to 95 pesos. We're in front of near Gaisano Country Mall, beside the Petron station. And we just opened Marites, which is a seafood Cajun restaurant. It's really attracting a lot of people.
Marites.
Well, Charlie's brainchild. So I was a little bit hesitant in the beginning, but it sort of caught a lot of people's attention very, very quickly, which is, I think, important in branding. So we also opened Rib House, which is a restaurant operated by my daughter, Cheryl. And it's in Gaisano Country Mall. It's something that we also want to grow. So we're always in the lookout of new brands, Michael. So we're a different kind of company where we are multi-branded, can you say?
So how many brands in total do you carry now for your food business? alone?
Oh, I'm sorry, I have to look at my calling card to check that out. I
Too
mean,
many.
I'm serious, quite a lot, but we have, I think, about 20, 22 branches right now. And Thirsty is a brand that has been with us for 27 years. So,
That's where it started, right? Thirsty.
well, actually, yeah, we had Playroom, which we started like a daycare center, and then we bought Thirsty in 1996. So we bought Thirsty with only 3 stores, and we grew it to over 200 stores before COVID, but now we're down to, I think, about 150, and we're inching back again. So the mindset is always to continually grow and expand.
But quite impressive that you grew in spite of the pandemic. So how were you able to do it? And did you have to retrench employees for a certain period of time, or
And actually, you cannot say that we grew because of the pandemic, because
how
what happened?
did you expand?
I know, but when before the
Considering
pandemic,
difficulties.
yeah, we were growing quite fast, and then we were 1,000. We had 1,000 employees before the pandemic, and then we dropped to 400 plus at the height of the pandemic, because we had to close many branches and we had to let go of a lot of people. But now we're back to where we are, and in fact a little bit bigger. And by the end of this year, we probably will be, including our franchises, maybe about 1,500 or 1,800 people. So you can say, I don't know, despite the pandemic, because we did not actually stop just building on and growing the business little by little. So that's basically what it is. But it was a tough, very, very tough period.
But what was the turning point on how you were able to bounce back?
The turning point was that early on, the first thing we did was there's 7 of us, family members, in the business. So the first thing is just cut everybody's compensation by 80%. And we talked to our people that they should just ride on. Our managers took a 50% cut in pay. By the way, they're back now, and a little bit more. And just basically that's what we did, because nobody knew how long would that situation
we didn't
last.
expect it to last that long.
Wala. Huwag kita expect na mo dugay ito. We were thinking it would just be a few months, but it just dragged on. It was very, very,
it went on
really
for
bad.
2 years actually.
Yeah, really 2 years at its height. And being in the restaurant business was tougher because you could only accommodate 30% of the usual. And imagine our sales dropped from 100% down to 10%. And gradually we built it. We tried the delivery business for a while. We set up shop in IT Park. And it was good in the beginning, but later on, when everybody went into it, so it just dropped. So eventually we had to close it down, and we just focused on our restaurant. So I think we can just look at that, hopefully, part of our lives as a challenge and something that we could profit and learn from.
I'm sure many lessons learned, because I think we were really put to the test, and what came out was our resilience to really thrive under immense pressure.
And I think the unity in the family was very, very important. We continually met, although in Zoom, and we were in constant touch with our people. They all understood the whole situation, and basically that's what it is. It was like, I think, a lesson in dealing with a crisis.
Okay. So, very impressive. I also have to note that I've seen your many restaurants, and it's quite impressive seeing how you've built the brand, local brands, and that's very hard to do.
Very difficult, challenging.
So, and I'm quite impressed also with your interior. It's really, it retains among Cebuanos, Filipinos. So, how did you master that? Branding is very difficult.
People ask me what's my secret, and I always say 2 things. Number 1 is my family. Second one is my attitude and the mindset. Well, my family is quite talented. I can talk about Charlie, who is the guy who conceptualizes and designs, and from A to Z, most of our restaurants like Marites, Top of Cebu, Lantau.
So Charlie looks out for the food business.
Well, we're a little bit unique because 3 of my children.
So it's very dynamic.
It's dynamic in a
setup.
sense, yeah. They're not really competing with one another. I work with all of them. Like Cheryl has also her own brands, She is on top of Cebu, not top of Cebu, House of Lechon. She is now with Rib House, and she also handles taters. And now we're branching out to some beauty and wellness products. But Charlie carries and has built our major brands: Lantau, Mr. Sizzlers, Cafe Racer, and Marites. And we're opening more branches. We're opening there in Cabalan, Kabangkalan, a large tract of land. It's 6,000 square meters, so that's going to be a different brand, a seafood restaurant.
But primarily, your target market is more on the mass market. Or...
No, it's actually a varied market, but the comfort food like the native restaurant is very popular. Our House of Lechon is a place where people go to. But during the pandemic, it really was very revealing, because when there were no visitors from other people coming in, our sales really was so dropped. So it just told us that the locals, the Cebuanos, don't really go to the restaurant to eat lechon, because they can always have access to lechon anywhere else. So, but when the people started to come into the city, our sales just sort of picked up. And if you go to our House of Lechon, it's always full in Acacia Street, and you don't really see too many guys from Cebu. Of course, when they have guests, they bring in there. But the people who go there are riding in vans. Sometimes they even carry their bags. So that's the situation with our House of Lechon brand. But the other brands are pretty popular: Top of Cebu, Lantau, and Cafe Racer. These are strongly patronized by our fellow Cebuanos, and I want to thank our friends to keep on patronizing us.
Whenever I check your restaurants, it's usually packed. So, great job.
To my family credit.
Yeah, but I'm curious with family businesses. Well, I'm part of one as well. I know there are squabbles sometimes. So how do you ensure that it's delegated properly? There are no egos that go overboard. So how do you keep everyone in check?
Yeah, I think it starts with my ego. So yeah. I've always thought, and I've always been very conscious of my ego. When I was in the life insurance business, I learned that ego is the enemy, and I still consider that. So I check on my own ego. So I guess it's probably an example of my own children, how they see their dad dealing with his ego, although it's tough. And each one is talented in his or her own way.
They have their strengths.
They have their strength, but I've always built on strength. You cannot build on a weakness. I've always say that, and that's what I've been trying to do. So what I've done all these years, and as the parents, the mother of my children, Alan, also really, we love all our kids. They're very close to each other. And every week we always find time to go out and bond together. We travel together. We're traveling soon. We're traveling before the end of the year together. So that's part of the whole process. So they're close to one another. But right now, the way it's set up, they're not really under one another. I work with each one of them. So I work with John with Thirsty and Fruitful. I work with Cheryl on her brands, which are Rib House and Taters, and the beauty products. I work with Charlie on the major brands that we have. And we're also in repair and maintenance and construction, which is Randy is doing that, which is Fix Masters and Playhouse, not in Playhouse, but PH Construction, and Michael, his own brand. So that's how we're operating. So our challenge now, Michael, moving forward, is how would they operate when I'm gone? So what we're doing now, and we're doing this, we're strengthening our board.
Have you done like a family constitution or all that?
Okay, that's a good question, because we did. We have a family constitution. Several years ago, I met this Ricky Mercado of the Ateneo Family Development Center, and we brought him over here, and he did our family constitution. So we have a family constitution. We need to revisit that soon, because that's what's over 6 years old. But it sort of helped everybody really focus on how to run our family business.
I think it's good to plan ahead,
It
considering
is to plan ahead, but in a way, the pandemic has sort of derailed a little bit our plan. I wanted to just sort of retire ahead, but now I'm more involved in it, and I don't think I plan to just get out of it because you usually get old and
So you're still very much active
I
with
am.
running day-to-day operations.
not day to day because I don't run a business myself. All those businesses that we have are managed
But you
by.
oversee
Yeah, I
macro
sort of
level,
oversee the macro level.
the overall sales, the revenues.
Of course, every day at 10 o'clock in the morning, I get all our sales. At the 20th of the month, I get our profit and loss statement, and I still meet our executive team, our management team. We have board meetings, so I'm still involved. But now, I go to the office in the morning from 9 o'clock to 12:30, and I just don't go to in the afternoon anymore. So I take it easy. I take a nap, I exercise, and I relax. Unless I have a function that I go to, so that's how I'm running my life right now, and it's pretty relaxed in a way. And I think it's the way. So my children are involved in the day to day, but they still consult, and we still talk a lot day to day on the things that are going. If they seek my advice,
Problem-solving.
yes, but if not, then they are sort of really just managing their own. I think they're ready to take on the world. I think what I've done all these years is to provide them with the atmosphere and the surroundings to grow and to become better people and to learn.
I know you have 5 children, right? And all 5 are active in the business.
Extremely active.
So it's the 5 of them and you
Yeah.
and your wife.
And the mother of my children, Alan, she runs our school.
So 7 in total.
We're all 7 in the board, and we're all there. We're there day to day. It's the 24-hour job.
Okay.
Although we have a business Viber chat, the group, and then we have a family chat Viber. So we're trying to separate
family and business.
Separate the family from business, which is quite a challenge. Sort of agreed, okay, we're dinner together, let's not talk business. So I guess, I don't know what you do in your family, but you guys have been in business longer than us.
Similar time, maybe about 30 years.
Ours is not
when
30
we trace
years,
it
really.
back to my parents, about
Correct.
30 plus.
And
years.
I think that's what it takes for a business to really get established. I think you cannot, if you run it the old-fashioned way,
Yeah.
it takes time to build a business.
Okay. Maybe we can delve a bit on your humble beginnings. I know you were in different industries. You were with Mobil Oil, and you were also with Manulife Insurance.
Yeah.
So you were an employee before you decided to venture as an entrepreneur, being your own boss. So maybe you can walk us through your humble roots,
Okay.
on how you began.
A long
and
time
how
ago,
you
but
grew.
my parents, like most Filipinos, I was raised to be an employee. Really, it's just like the conversation at home was to study hard,
So you can
work
get a
hard in
stable
school,
job.
you can get a good job. So that's what happened. So when I finished chemical engineering at the University of San Carlos, I took the board exams, I passed. So at that time, the best jobs were with the oil companies, being an engineer. So I applied with 2 companies, Esso, which is American, and also Mobil Oil, also American. Both got me, but Mobil was first. So I joined, and I was, 21 years old
This
at that
was
time.
in Cebu.
This was in Cebu. I'm Cebuano. And what happened was, I remember my first pay was 780 pesos a month. That
This
was
is,
my salary.
Back in the
way
70s.
way back in the 70s, because I finished chemical engineering in 1968.
Okay.
So this was way back in the 19...
Way before I was born.
I know, where you were born. So, and then I worked with Mobil. I was assigned to Iloilo. And then after a year, they moved me to Bacolod, and then I was supposed to get promoted to be in Cebu, but I decided to stay in Bacolod. And of all industries, I joined the life insurance industry. I joined a Canadian life insurance company called the Manufacturers Life Insurance Company, which is one of the top 2 insurance companies in Canada. And I stayed there for 24 years, believe it or not. So I got promoted, I got transferred to Cebu in 1989, right after martial law. No, after EDSA, revolution, and then we started to... So I didn't have a business until late, when I was already almost 50 years old.
When did you realize you wanted to be your own boss and start your own?
When I just realized that I couldn't pass on the life insurance business to my family. And also I wasn't excited anymore to get up in the morning. So I said, I'm not.
You lost that drive.
Yeah.
You wanted new challenges.
It's just that I just couldn't pass it on to my family, and I wanted something else. So I just kept on looking and looking and looking.
A legacy.
You could. Yeah, I didn't think that way, but I was earning pretty well there. I was at the head of the whole Visayas and Mindanao, but I wasn't happy anymore. So that's what happened. And I know myself, if I'm not happy with what I'm doing, I'm not going to do it. And so, well, all these years, I couldn't just wait to get up in the morning and face the day.
There was that passion. So you were
always.
excited.
I think I'm a very passionate person, and I don't think I could do anything without passion.
But in your experience in mobile and Manulife, it must have molded a lot of skills, maybe salesmanship, because you strike me as a very good salesman also.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, my mindset is always like what benefit can I provide other people? That it starts there. So one of the first things I learned in life insurance is don't think about your commission, think about your mission. And with Mobil Oil, these are both foreign companies, by the way. So Mobil Oil, I learned the concept of complete staff work. Like complete staff work is that if you are working for somebody else or you are supposed to make a recommendation or you make a report, so make that report complete in such a way that you answer all the questions prior so that your boss or the one looking at your report will just either say yes or no. And what happens a lot of times, and when somebody gives us something, we still have to go back there and say, okay, so how many people are involved here? What's the cost? What's the expected profit? So I learned that from Mobil Oil, complete staff work. And with Manulife, that you can do a lot of, whatever you need in life, it's actually with somebody else. So you need to be like conscious of customer service. I learned that the main purpose of the business is to create satisfied customers. So that's been our focus. And whatever happens now when we open a new restaurant or a new brand, the first thing I'm going to ask is, are we creating satisfied customers? Because if we're not, you cannot stay in business, right, Mike? I mean, you guys have all the brands in the cars right now, so I guess that's one of the first things. Is this customer happy?
Yeah, ultimately,
with the purchase?
That's the key to sustainability.
To me, it's the main ingredient for success in business, creating satisfied customers. If you don't do that, then you won't stay in business long.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have any role models or idols, or I'm sure you read a lot of books.
I read a lot of books. In fact, one of the things I always recommend to people is that read. And as I was growing up, I didn't have confidence in myself. I had inferiority complex, and I read almost all the self-development books available at that time, like How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. So How to Win Friends and Influence People, a classic. The Magic of Thinking Big, The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale.
Yeah,
so
I'm familiar with those
all of those books, your Erroneous Zones, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So I read all of those books, and I still read, even today. But I do Kindle right now.
I think it's better. It's lighter and
and when you go out of town, you travel, so it's easy.
Convenient.
You don't have to bring. But I don't really miss the actual book, so because Kindle is very important to me right now.
Some are old-fashioned, so they prefer that smell.
I know it's easier to order Kindle if I like a book. Like I like this book of Elon Musk by Isaacson. I just press an order and then it's there. So I started reading. So reading books is so important. It's very, very important, and I guess hard work and taking care of your body. Like before I came here, I just had to rush and did my exercises.
How often do you exercise in a
I
week?
try to do almost every day now.
Just gym, or you play
Yeah, I have a
sports?
gym, and I have a gym in the house. I used to play basketball. I used to play tennis, but not anymore. I exercise at the house. I do weights.
Treadmill and weights.
Yeah, I run a little bit, and I have weights, and I have a sauna there at home, so which I use about 5 times a week. So that keeps me well. And I think it's so important to do this because being in business, the challenge is you really have to have that energy and the mindset and
Focus.
and focus. So I think those are very important ingredients and qualities that you need to develop in yourself. So work on yourself, not only work on your business, but work on yourself.
Okay. Any books you'd like to recommend? Recent books that you've read?
Yeah, well,
perhaps
the books,
standout books.
yeah, to me the classics are really like the Effective Executive, and then it's an old classic, but the one that stands out to me has been really Good to Great by Jim Collins. There are a lot of new books right now, and because I read multiple books at a time, and confession, I don't, my memory, my retention isn't that good, so I don't have what they call a memory that retains a lot, so my retention, so I need to read a lot of books and maybe sometimes over and over again before I remember things, and that's true.
Okay, moving on. We're both Cebuanos, and actually right now we are presented with various challenges. Like now we notice so much traffic, flood situation, and the world is very different now. So, what can you say about the changing times, and how do we address all these current issues like
Amazing,
inflation,
I think,
economic
you're right.
turmoil?
Well, I don't want to participate in those economic turmoil. I'll tell you this, I always say, okay, I'm not joining the crisis. I'm not joining the crisis. I want to get out and do something else. Like, let me tell you a story. When I was in the life insurance industry, I was in Bacolod, and there was this sugar crisis, and people were saying, it's so bad and everything. So I told myself, no, I'm not joining the crisis. And what happened was, when things were really bad, I went to people who were doing pretty well, and I got inspired by them. And I sort of avoided the people who were always complaining. So if you now say, okay, there's going to be a crisis, a world crisis, I said, no, I'm not joining the crisis. And I think we can always do certain things that you, on your own, you can get up earlier in the morning, you can exercise more, you can read, work harder, focus more, and meet your people and encourage. And in a way, that's what we've been doing all these years. So times are going to be always like that. And if you look at 40 years ago, the crisis that everyone has have gone through, it's really, I think, something like internally you can move on and be not a joiner of these crises. So that's what I've been trying to do. I know it's tough to do that, but that's my attitude. So the artificial intelligence is something that you really have to embrace. So I'm using ChatGPT now. I'm using Ask AI. So why not? So those are things that we need to do. I think these are the challenges that we will have to face, especially for the younger generation. Cebu City, Mayor Mike is very dedicated to working hard, but of course the challenges are quite difficult. That they've been there for a long, long time. The traffic, the flood, our streets are quite narrow.
The flood is getting worse.
Yeah, and also
there's a joke that it's like a resort in some areas.
I know, but I guess the mindset of the people also, like, you just drive from up in Busay down here. I know Mayor Mike wants to clean up and provide the sidewalk, but I was just looking at you need to bring a bulldozer to just clean everything up, and that's going to be a challenge. And I'm involved in a way in the city by working hard. I'm an advisor to the mayor on entrepreneurship, so these are the things that we keep on discussing, which is really quite daunting.
Yeah,
Mike.
Okay, delving more into your style in business, would you say you're a macro manager, a micro manager? Are you hands-on? Did you used to be very hands-on with operations?
Yeah, I'm a listener. I think one of the things that have been, I think, very important in the growth of our business is when one of my children or anybody who brings up an idea to me, I never shut it down.
You're
Never.
open-minded.
Yeah, I always say, okay, let's take a look at it and then we'll discuss. And in discussing, things would just come out, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. Because you see, when you knock an idea out, the first time it's brought to your attention, it's gone. And this is what happened to us. So years ago, when Charlie brought up the idea of opening a restaurant or buying even Moon Cafe, way back in 2007, and the horror stories of people who went into the the restaurant business, really bad. I mean, how many brands had opened and closed, and it's very competitive. So if my attitude then was to say, okay, Charles, no, we're not going to go into the restaurant business. It's really terrible, and we don't even know how to cook. I don't even know. I haven't cooked an egg in my life, so I don't know how to cook. So if that was my attitude at that time, then we wouldn't be here today sitting down and talking about the restaurant business. So the point is, you have to have this attitude of openness, of being able to explore ideas. And there's this guy, Wayne Dyer, he passed away, but he wrote many, many books. One of those is Your Erroneous Zones. He said, have a mind that is open to everything or to anything but attached to nothing. So that's really my mindset. So anything that's brought to my attention, I keep an open mind. I listen and I explore. And in doing so, we get things, we develop things come out. So if that's important for parents, do it. When your children bring up something to you, do not knock it down. Just say, okay, guy, let's take a look at it. Tell me more about it. I'm here to listen.
Okay.
And then you'll never know. You might find something there that is important, that is maybe the time has arrived. And that's what I think I do best. I'm not more intelligent than the other person, but I think I listen and I'm open-minded.
Yeah.
That's I think the secret of.
But I imagine the restaurant business, it's very hard. The way I imagine, because of course quality, the manpower, or even the different cuisines, because I know you don't handle just Filipino.
No,
you have Japanese, and you have steaks now.
Yes.
I mean ribs, right?
Yeah, we're opening a coffee shop somewhere there it's Unity Coffee. We bought that brand.
So how do you discern to give it a go? Especially if it's new, like if you haven't done Chinese or if you haven't done this particular cuisine, how do you have that confidence to proceed?
Yeah. First of all, you need to build capacity. What I mean by capacity is you need to have the people already there in place who can move whenever you need to move. By the way, we bought, I think I'm free to announce this because this has been closed. We bought this very, very popular restaurant, but really did not grow. It's Everything Yummy.
Yeah, they
recently,
have very good pork chop.
Yeah,
I remember they're known for pork chop.
So many awards by Sunstar.
Yeah,
like
Cebu's
pork chop,
best.
Cebu's best. So we bought this brand just about 2 weeks ago. So we're looking for locations to do this, and we found one, and we're exploring now. So, and I mean, I go back to my children. I go back to Charlie. I go back to Michael. I go back to Cheryl. They're the ones who conceptualize. They're the ones who come up with brands. And all I need to do is look at the whole situation and say, okay, we'll go.
You give the final say.
I give the final say, and if I say no, then it doesn't go through. But my default is to say yes. Okay?
Yeah.
Of course, we've made mistakes, and it's part of life. And then we look for a good location. You know, the location is very important.
Location is very critical.
Is really critical. So, and I think that sense. But to me, these locations are given to the Lord by us. So it's just that they just land on our lap.
And I noticed you have very good locations, like the one in Busay, overseeing very close to Tops, right?
Yeah,
And you
Chicks
also
Boy.
had one in Cordova, Lantau, Cordova.
Yeah, it's still there though. It's
So very impressive locations, and people really go out of their way because of the view, the vibe. So
and that's still our thrust, Mike. That's still our thrust. We're going to be looking for locations in the south to put Lantau, like the one we did in Compostela. Well, Charlie found this, so my children look for locations, and then we just sit down and say, okay, go ahead.
these
And-
are leased properties, or
Yeah, right now they're really
some are
leased.
owned.
No, because most of these
Most are
properties are
leased.
not. The owners don't even want to sell. Even if we want to buy, we could not. So we go for now long-term lease, like 15 years. But because investments are pretty huge too. So, but if they're okay, so they're okay. But I think it's really important to have the capacity to do it, and we have the capacity. We have the chefs, we have the commissary, we have HR, we have audit, we have accounting, and we have treasury department that keeps track of everything. We have a good procurement department. So we have, and this is so important in business. You know that, right?
Yes.
It's called capacity building. So once you have the capacity, then you are able to grow. You're able to expand when you need to, and that's what we have. Like we got the space in Panagdait, this off-roads cafe last week from Popoy Mancao. So we're given 45 days to open the restaurant. So now we're just gonna put all our team together there and see if we could open before the end of December. You'll never be able to do this unless you have built capacity. So many people tell me I cannot hire an assistant because I can't afford it yet. Well, you can never grow unless you do it. And I think that's one of the things that we did right is to just invest on people. So we have 7 people in HR, we have a lot of people in our accounting, so that
you recruit the right people.
we try to.
Qualified chefs, of course.
Yeah, it's
managers.
one thing I learned
restaurant
from
managers.
restaurant managers, and we're getting chefs. So for every brand that we are opening, we get a new chef, but we have a corporate chef that's been involved there. So in a way, I think that's maybe not being scared to hire people and to build a team and say, okay, we've got this team, now let's look for the business and run after the business. If that makes sense, I don't know. Only time will tell.
How do you make sure it doesn't get too commercialized? You hear this term commercialized, where quality goes down when you branch out way too much. So it's really evident or inevitable that quality can be affected if you overexpand.
Right, I
to
think
a certain extent.
it starts with a mindset, Mike, because like Charlie's mindset is always customer focused. You know, what value can we bring to our customers, to our diners? See, in fact, he doesn't really want our restaurants to be too crowded. He puts in the table, even though it's not required anymore, the table is quite far from each other, and he makes sure to do the quality. And even when we talk to him about, Charles, you know, we need to adjust the prices, he's always very, very said, no, Dad.
To maintain quality.
Yeah, to maintain
so
quality.
You don't cheapen it.
Yeah,
right?
so but he's always saying, no, let's keep our prices as low as we can. And I think if you go to our restaurants, you can see that when you get the bill, you don't say, oh, this is very expensive. That's why people keep on going back. And I think my answer to that is really the mindset of my children who are running the restaurants, Charlie, Cheryl, and Michael.
You have 5 children, so
Yeah.
maybe we can go through them. So Charlie is...
Well, John is the eldest.
John looks out for...
He looks out for thirsty and fruitful. And yeah, that's basically what he has right now. But John's very busy because he's the chairman of the sports commission of the city, and then they were able to bring in Palarong Pambansa here 2024 after 30 years. So he's also very involved there. So that's what John, but John is our executive vice president, same title as you have.
Yeah.
So he's also involved in HR, he's involved in a lot of our corporate affairs.
The different departments.
Yeah, the
I
different
imagine.
departments that are necessary for a running enterprise, and that's part of capacity building. So John is there, and then next is Charlie.
Yeah, I met Charlie. I used to see him visit this
I
showroom of
know.
ours.
He's a BMW guy, so he's very active in the Beamers group. So Charlie is really our, I would say, our whiz of a restaurant. Forgive me for saying this, but
So
to me,
branding and conceptualizing.
he's a genius in what he does. So, I mean, he has developed the concept for Lantau, for Cafe Racer, for Mr. Sizzlers, for what else? And the other brands, Marites, from scratch, Mike.
Who does your interior design? It's very impressive.
Charlie.
All of your restaurants always have
Not
this,
all, but a Rib House and House of Lechon.
most have this standout quality. It's memorable. When you go there, you remember it because of how it looks. So it has that homey vibe whenever you enter.
Yeah, and I don't think you could get those by hiring. No offense to the interior designers, but
Of course, family.
yeah, but
There's
sort
that
of
personal touch.
Yeah, but Cheryl, they sort of develop this themselves and come up with these designs by themselves. Of course, we hire architects to make sure that we execute the plans perfectly and make the plans. But in terms of the concept, from A to Z, including the design of the menu and the pricing and the operating systems inside the restaurant, they do it themselves. So we don't have consultants to do this.
It's very good that you give them the freedom to do that, because sometimes there are generational issues where the patriarch can be very imposing, so there's no flexibility for the children. So it's very good that they have that room to.
No, they have.
To
Well, the only
explore.
reason is because I'm not good enough to do that. I mean, the things that they're really good at, I leave it to them. We discuss, we talk about it. I think it's also knowing that I have limitations.
So we mentioned earlier the ego, so it's clear that your ego is in check.
It is. It should be in check, because if you don't, it's gonna create havoc in the organization, in the family. Of course, there are always issues that you need to bring up, and you need to just if you need to impose on something. But I don't look at my children as sort of my or under me. I look at them as my equal, and then we run the business. By the way, our businesses are first-gen business, Micah. So we started this business, we put up these businesses together as a family.
Because some organizations can be very dictatorial, right? Or it can be quite toxic for some. You've read about this.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like corporations breaking up because of squabbles with the shares, And it's very unfortunate to see.
Yeah, I think that should be the last thing that will happen. So that's going to be our challenge, and that's the focus on how to bring this to the next generation. So we're first gen. We started the businesses together. So now the next gen, we have about 14 other guys who are coming in, the grandchildren. We have teenagers already that are there.
So you have grandchildren that are in their teens.
Yeah.
So
well, Yana, the eldest, the only daughter of John, is already 23 years old. So she finished in Ateneo. She was the captain of the tennis team. So she's involved in our school now. But Yana is going to study abroad to learn more. So let's see what happens. And we have the next gen that we're bringing in.
How many grandchildren do you have now?
I think 14 right now.
That's a lot.
I have to recount, but they're all there, and we get together every week to. So it's very important, Michael. Any family business, you have to make sure that the family
stays
the
intact.
Members, stays intact.
The communication is
always constant.
Healthy.
Yeah, and if there are issues that need resolving, I drop everything and resolve the issue, and avoid the conflict. Because if there's a conflict, it's very difficult to run a business.
Yeah, the tension.
You know that, right?
Yeah, if you're not speaking, or if there's a gap.
How can you even make decisions?
Or you make decisions based on emotion or anger, so you make wrong decisions.
You make wrong decisions. So there's freedom to make decisions, but there's also a check and a balance, because everybody's conscious about the whole organization. And also, one of the things, I think this is important, one of the things that we talked about, and which is in our family constitution, is nobody goes into business for himself or herself. So all our businesses, any ideas that are being generated or explored, are brought to the table in the family business. And that, I'm part of it. And so we're strict in that. So we're all focused on the family business.
What if one would want their independence, or one would want to do something on their own?
Well, we haven't reached that point, and hopefully not. I'm not we're not talking about the first gen, you're talking about the next gen probably. That could happen, and nobody's going to be forced to be part of the business. So we're a corporation and we have certain shares, and I guess it's the same in your business, but maybe run differently, I don't know.
Similar, but in my case, there's only 2 of us, so it's simpler.
Oh, wow.
But for next gen,
And the 2 of you are great entrepreneurs, you guys. Amazing.
Yeah.
But you guys started really, really young, at a young age, and your parents were in business.
Yeah, in
which is
our
quite
20s.
different in my case, because I did not go into business until, what, I was 50?
Yeah, well, I think it's a unique and different journey for each of us. So
Very, very different.
we have our different trials.
But the principles, I think
Yeah, there are commonalities.
there's
of course.
commonalities, and I think you need to just go with the basics of running a business successfully, right?
Yes.
And what are those?
Focus,
To you.
well, of course, the foundations have to be in place. Ensuring that, of course, you have healthy cash flow and you don't get into it for the wrong reasons.
Correct.
You know, all these things.
Quite challenging, right? Because
Yes.
it's so easy, you just make a wrong turn and it
I
just...
think discernment is key. You have to assess if it's really feasible, because I think some, they get into business to maybe they want to show off or
Yeah.
they want to prove something, but it's all, the motives are all wrong.
Yeah, but I always say, you should take your business seriously, but don't take yourself seriously.
Yeah.
But the business is serious.
Yeah,
I
it's a walk in the
remember
park.
one of
You
my
need
friends told me,
focus.
business is war. so it's got to be really serious. The focus is there. You can't take it lightly.
Yeah.
But don't take yourself seriously.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the key point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay, so you mentioned John and you mentioned Charlie.
Yeah.
And you have Cheryl.
No, Randy next.
Randy,
Yeah, Randy is the musician. He's
the artist.
the artist. In a way, he graduated in Hollywood in guitar, so it's part of the band. So it's sort of difficult for him to just go into the restaurant business. We tried, it didn't work.
so
but
different-
he graduated from
different
Don Bosco.
strength.
No, he graduated from Don Bosco. So Don Bosco is like mechanically inclined, and
You also have a guitar business, right?
we had one, but it did not click.
Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't a guitar business. Like, it was because of Randy's expertise and then his talent, and he's one of the best guitarists in the country. In Spotify, one of his recording,
Oh, he has albums there.
he's got about 800,000 people who listen to it. So now that's why we decided to spin off during the pandemic, to spin off our repair and maintenance outfit. So we put up a company, also family-owned, Fix Masters. So for people out there who would need repairs for their houses, for their buildings, for their offices, we are complete. We have plumbers, we have electricians, we have painters, we have welders, so carpenters, so we can give you a quote. So we also are in the construction business right now. It's called PHICD.
Who's focused on the construction?
Randy.
Randy.
So he's the guy who's servicing all our needs. So if there are problems in the restaurant, he has a team that goes in to fix. But we decided to spin that off and offer it to the outside business also. So, and then there's Cheryl. Cheryl is the only girl.
Yeah, I think I've met her on a few occasions also.
Yeah, she's Alba now, married to Jay.
Yeah.
And she's handling Taters, our partnership with the owners there in Manila, the Tanchancos. And she has developed her own brand, House of Lechon, which is doing pretty well, and Rip House, which is in Gaisano Country Mall. But now we are actually in the beauty and the wellness business, Rich Beauty. It's now starting to create some waves.
Beauty? You mean like facials?
Yeah, lipstick,
all of that.
and all of those. And then we are also partnering with somebody in Manila who's a movie star. I'm not at liberty to mention that. We also have a sort of a clothing line brand right now. It's called Imagination, and that's with Cheryl.
Okay.
And so and then Michael is the youngest. He also has his own brand. He's got Manong's Butter Fried Chicken, which is getting really, really popular. We're in Oak Ridge and we're in the Reclamation. And he has developed a new brand right now, Pinutos ni Manong, which is the pater type of thing, the kanang giputos kanang banana leaves.
Yeah.
Running at about 65 pesos to 95 pesos. We opened our first branch just 2 weeks ago, and we're opening more branches. So that's, and the mother of my children, Alan, she runs our school.
Bright Academy.
Yeah, Bright Academy,
Playhouse.
Playhouse Children's Center.
Okay.
So that's the extent of everything. So our lives are focused on the family, are focused on the business, and our involvement in the community, and trying to help our city grow and become more prosperous, and become a better place to live in. So that's the extent of our of our life. Pretty simple.
So I guess it's not purely about profit. Of course, you get into business to also impact the community and others.
Right.
And leaving something behind, something.
Hopefully. Well, it's a constant challenge. And you know how it is. Your family has been in business for a long, long time.
More on the automotive side. So. But if I may ask, your businesses are quite diversified, but primarily food, right?
Right now, we're moving into food, although we're going to be going into a sort of a real estate development. We are in partnership with someone from Iloilo to develop this property in Mactan, so that's going to be next year.
How do you make sure that there are no threats of overexpanding? How do you ensure that you have a healthy cash flow? So how do you oversee that, especially if because there are tendencies you might bite more than you can chew.
It's
so
true.
How do you make sure there's focus for each brand and you don't fall off the wagon for certain
Yeah, it's very risky.
brands?
Well, first of all, you need numbers. You need to keep track of what's going on in your business every day. So we look at
finance side, right?
I'm sorry?
Finance.
Yeah,
Someone
we
has
have
to
this guy who's been
keep
with
a
us
close
for,
eye.
Paul Mayo has been with us for 25 years. He's our CFO, and he keeps track of everything. So we keep track of our sales, we keep track of the cash flow, and we check on everything, the profitability of each brand. And without numbers, you cannot manage. I always say you cannot manage what you cannot measure.
Yeah.
So I think first you have to have the numbers, you have to keep track, look at your trends and how things are going. And those that are really eating you up, the businesses, and we've
Have
done
to
this.
let go.
Yeah, we've done this many times. People think that we don't make mistakes. We make mistakes, and we'll continue to make mistakes in the future. But if you made a mistake, do not dwell on the mistake. Don't stay there.
Move forward.
Don't let your ego get the better of you. Close it down and cut the leak. And this has happened to us several times.
Stop the bleeding. Right?
Stop the bleeding, because what for? I mean, there's this such ego thing. You just have to continue with it because you're
If it's really losing money.
going to be embarrassed because you close a business down. No. I always say, I'm happy to close a business just like I'm happy to open one if it cuts the leak, which I think is very important.
Yeah.
So that's basically, and also we make sure before we do anything that our resources are ready and things are in proper place. But of course, there's no guarantee that you're always right. But I think you've been at it a little while. You know the sense of where it is. Like when Charlie brought up the point in opening in Compostela, I know it's a bit far, and the location and the situation, and we negotiated with the owner on the lot and the design and everything. So we just said, okay, Charlie, go ahead. And right now it's turning like a good decision. So when he said, Dad, we'll go back to the mall, we opened this Mr. Sizzlers. It's a new brand, and this is the concept, and this is what we're getting, and this would be how much it would take. And we looked at it, I saw the location, and I said, Charles, go ahead. So, I mean, those are the things that are tricky, but I don't know whether it is part of having a little bit of a business sense and the discussion. So, you know the drill, right?
Yes. Yeah.
What to do and what brand to take.
Yeah. And
It doesn't mean that we're always right. Discerning is part of it. And the most important thing is when you're there, you focus. Do everything that you can. And you cannot wait until things are perfect before you start, right? It's go ahead and just make adjustments along the way.
Yeah, I think
Get customer
important
feedback.
Thing, of course, cash flow
Yeah, the cash flow is so
Some
important.
expect profit right away. That's not entirely the case right away.
Although we're not that big, so we expect that we don't get drained so much. So you've got to be right. Otherwise, it's quite difficult. So you know how these things go.
Yeah. Any examples of businesses you had to let go or mistakes you made?
Oh, many.
Realizations?
Yeah, one mistake was we went into the shawarma business. I wrote about this in my column.
I
Yeah,
saw that.
because we had Thirsty, and there was this shawarma
Stall?
stall. I think it was owned by Bose founder Steve Benitez, and it was really just had as many people as
long
Thirsty.
line
So
for
said,
those
why
shawarma
don't we
stations."
open our own shawarma business? And we did. I forgot the name, but I think it was a very good brand, and we opened 5 restaurants, stalls. Pretty good start, a lot of people, and I was worried because our cash flow didn't really improve. Our bank balance did not go up, so we made a mistake. We made a mistake because we did not consider the fact that the beef shrinks by 30 to 40% what you sell. So our costings were wrong. And we just couldn't increase the prices anymore, and we had to close down. So that's one. And another example, which I wrote again in my column, was I went into the giant tire repair business. A friend of mine had this technology to repair these.
This was years ago?
No, maybe about 15 years ago.
Okay.
These huge tires that they use in the mining and the logging industry, and when they're still new, they get punctured because of the stones. And he developed this technology of patching. And we put up a business. It was called the Bigfoot Tire Company. And then we opened it up, and I was very excited. We provided the capital, and he did the management and the technology. Later on, when we took on a lot of tires and we repaired them, eventually we ran out of tires to repair, and we had to close the business down. And collection was also a problem then. So I can cite many more stores that we opened.
Worthwhile because of the learnings.
The learnings, but
along the
Mike,
way.
you'll never know what clicks. I mean, what will click.
Yeah. You can't
cannot
really foresee everything.
There's no way you might say, okay, you're very optimistic that this will. We've opened several House of Lechon branches. Eventually we had about 4.
You had to cut some.
We just had to close
to make
all of them.
sure you're more efficient.
You're not more efficient, but the locations were not right, and also the market. We made a mistake in the market, so and we'll continue to do so. But I think as long as you have a few successes that are I think you can take out those mistakes. But there's no way you can be right every time or all the time.
But how do you stay motivated? Because some can be discouraged, so they become fearful of trying something new because they've failed. So what advice would you give?
Yeah, I know. I was talking to Charlie. I was talking
entrepreneurs?
to Charlie just a few days ago. I said, Charlie, how did we get here? He said, oh, Dad, we just continued to do it. We did not get scared. So I think it's not.
So you need that killer instinct also to
Yeah,
keep
I don't know
thriving.
whether you call it killer instinct, but I think you've got to have that
tenacity.
consistency and the tenacity
Yeah.
and the belief that you can do it. But I think the most important thing in business is really just focus and make sure that you're there, your commitment. And I guess the Lord has something to do with it, because I always believe that a business is given by the Lord. So I pray, Lord, if this is for us, give it to us. If not, then make it hard and show us that it's not for us. So that to me, that's a very simple prayer. And this has happened many, many times. And when I feel that it's giving us a lot of stumbling blocks, the difficulties and the sort of bugat ba. So maybe it's not for us. And when we don't get it, I always say, okay, thank you, Lord, it's not for us. Then we go somewhere else. And that had been the philosophy that I always carry in my life. If it's for us, we'll get it. If it's not, then that's okay.
So you
That's
usually seek guidance from the Lord on your ventures to make sure that, this is the right decision. This might not be too good. So
and
you
as I said, if the road is smooth and things just fall into place, most likely it's for you.
Okay.
Most likely. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but most likely. And that's been my philosophy. So I don't get upset, I don't get disappointed, I don't get hurt if something doesn't push through, because I always say,
there's a reason.
yeah, there's a
purpose
reason.
for
There's a
everything.
reason, and it's not for us. And this has happened when all the things, not all, but most of the things we've done, Mike, it's just, things just fall into place. And you say, labad sa o or something like that. To tell you the truth, it's not. We enjoy what we're doing and we love what we do. And I think the most important focus is to create more satisfied customers.
Yeah, I still sense your passion, so very impressive. But I think about passion, it wouldn't feel like work because you're enjoying what you're doing.
I don't work.
Yeah,
No, I don't work.
because work seems like such an arduous thing. Like, oh, you get up or you're forced to do something. But if you enjoy it,
we love
it
the
comes
challenge.
natural.
Yeah, we love the challenge though. So it's more like a challenge. It's not a problem. So I always say, okay, so where's our challenge here?
Okay. Anyway, on a deeper, more personal note, what are your views on the world? What's your worldview, spiritual views, religious views? Or what do you think is the purpose of humanity, why we're here, where we're going?
Wow.
What are we here for?
I think we're here to serve, to develop people along the way. And,
Relationships.
yeah, and bring people up.
friendships.
So I'm a very developmental person, so I always think that people have potentials. And I started with my children. And if they have reached a certain point in their lives right now where they are, it's because I built on their positive traits. As I said, you cannot build on weaknesses, you need to build on strengths, and that's what I've been doing. And I'm sure and I can see that they're doing it with their children too. And my view is that our time in this world is limited. So
Yeah.
let's make the best use of it. Enjoy as you can.
Enjoy the journey. Right?
Enjoy the journey. But my biggest motivation is really self-development. Believe it or not. So
Growth and
growth in my personal
fulfillment.
and I believe that your business cannot grow unless you grow yourself. So I read a lot, I watch podcasts, I watch yours too. I look at YouTube and I talk to people.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm with somebody who is more successful than we are, I always pick their brains.
Actually, there's
learn
always
from-
something to learn from anyone.
So it's
even-
always like I consider myself a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
So it's always to learn. I'm so excited to read. I'm so excited to talk to people.
Yeah.
And I think that motivates me a lot.
Yeah, I think you
All the
learn
time.
something from anyone you talk to. Like you hear perspectives even with farmers, security guards, or vendors. There's
All.
insights you get.
Yeah, and I think if you have that attitude, you'll never grow old. I mean,
Yeah.
that's my philosophy.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question, but we'll never know where we'll.
Yeah.
Where we will
It's an
go.
uncertain life. Things
It is.
can
It
happen.
is an uncertain, but
accidents happen. So
let's just
make
be
the
let's
most
just
of
be
it.
ready, and no regrets.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
think that's so important. No regrets.
Okay. Anyway, maybe we can walk through your journey. You mentioned you went into insurance, oil, then you ventured into food, and on the school also. We didn't really cover much on the school. What made you decide to start the school, Playhouse, Bright? What led to that?
Was really started. The concept was really started by the mother of my children, Alan and myself. So we sort of
This
converted
came
our
first,
garage.
right? Before Thirsty.
Yeah, this came
So
first
the
before
school
30. The
first.
school is now 30
Okay.
30 years old. So this came first.
All the way till high school?
Right, yes. We have 700 students in that school right now. And we just converted our garage into a school. And Michael, my son, was part of it, of that class. It started with 5 kids and we rented his house in Paradise Village. And we started from there and it just grew and grew. So that's basically what it is. But the mindset is always to grow, to expand. You know, I believe that, I always say an entrepreneur is somebody who sees a business opportunity, capitalizes on it, and builds an organization to pursue it. So if a person has been in business for a long, long time and he hasn't grown, he's not an entrepreneur. He's a businessman, but I think entrepreneurs like you and maybe me and us, we're always think of growth, always to expand.
Always moving forward.
Always moving forward,
going up, right?
always going up, hopefully. Not all the time.
Down, but you go up.
You go up. So but entrepreneurs build businesses, build organizations.
Yeah.
And I think that's the basic difference, the main difference between a businessman and an entrepreneur. And that's growth-minded.
So you're doing your part also, of course, for the economy, for jobs, for the well-being of others.
Yeah. So that's it. And when your time comes to be out of this world, and maybe you have contributed a little something to the world before you left.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's deep enough, but that's what I can say. So I just take things lightly. Don't take myself too seriously, but take other things seriously.
Okay. What else do you do in your spare time? Any movies or series you've been watching lately?
Oh,
Netflix?
yeah, no, but I've set up my home in such a way that it's like an entertainment hub. So I've got everything there, Netflix. But I'm trying to just limit my watching television and movies. So I want to spend more time now in reading, writing a column, and developing certain podcasts that I can share to more people. So I'm trying to manage my time in such a way that it gets to be more productive. But sometimes I reward myself and say, okay, watch a nice movie tonight.
What about hobbies? Or you do biking or...
No,
I know you collect cars. You have a car collection. In fact, you've bought several cars from us. I think you just...
I've always loved cars, but now
You're a very valued customer, of
Thank
course,
you.
with our company.
Thank you. Will always be, but
Yeah.
I'm just trying to limit myself now to this newer cars. I'm tired of all those repair and maintenance situations.
less
So I said,
headache also.
I've passed through that, but my children are different. So they've got the different mindset. They're younger, so they can do that. But I said no more. And then I'm done.
Okay. Any parting message or advice you'd want to give to our viewers or whoever might be watching this, fellow Filipinos or...
Yeah, well, first of all, Mike, it's never too late to start a business. Like I started at age 50 and a lot of people would have probably called me crazy or stupid to start at age 50 because you have very little time to adjust. But I think in a way, it's sort of healthy because I was in a rush. And secondly, I think I've learned enough from the outside world that I am able to apply it in the real world, in our own businesses. So my encouragement is don't wait too long to start a business. Start, but it's never too late to start. And when you're there, take it seriously. But don't take yourself seriously. Take your business, take your customers, take the people that work with you seriously because it's a serious business to be in business. So I hope that helps.
Okay. So yeah, I think we covered a lot of ground today. So thank you very much, Sir Bunny, Tito Bunny, for all the wonderful insights on family, business, life. So we covered pretty much almost everything, perhaps. So,
Okay, pretty good interviewer, Mike.
So yes.
Congrats. Good luck on your podcast, okay?
Valued the time we shared.
Thank you. Same here.
Thank you.
Bye, and God bless.
Thank you.